Hello IAS aspirants, this is Professor Dr. Beerendra Pandey. Today I am going to talk about essay as a gateway to mastering all GS papers, your writing of GS papers answers. What I am going to tell you is not going to help you write very good essays in the exam for the essay paper, but all GS papers and even optional papers, the answers of optional papers in a very efficient way, because the skills that you master in essay writing, you transfer those very skills in answer writing in other papers. So let's get going. So look at our first slide. Introduction. If you look at, it tells you what I just told you, so I am just going to repeat it, that essay writing is the foundation for your UPSC mains examination. The reasons are two. One is that the essay itself carries 250 marks, right, which is quite a sizable number of marks allocated. What this means is that if you do well in this paper, you largely ensure your success for the UPSC. So that is reason number one. Reason number two is that all the skills that you master and that you exhibit in your essay writing, those very skills are actually mobilized when you are writing answers in other GS papers and optional papers. Okay. And the third bullet point tells you that essay writing is not just a skill. It is just not a skill for getting through the examination. It is a life skill. Why? Because here two important words there. If you see there, one is this thinking and other is this communication, right? So let me elaborate these two terms whereby you come to know why I say that essay writing is not just an exam skill, rather it's a life skill. In writing essay, you are not only required to think up ideas, but you are also supposed to arrange those ideas in order in a connected whole, right? And your ideas come from so many sources. So ideas which come from so many sources, organizing them into a collected whole is not an easy cup of tea. That requires a lot of critical thinking. It's your critical thinking that helps crystallize those disparate ideas into an effective, efficient, telling, very good looking telling a whole. It becomes one organic whole. And in order to make that organic whole, what is required is critical thinking. And don't we utilize, or we are required to utilize, fall back upon critical thinking so many times in our life, in our practical day-to-day life? So this is why I say that essay writing is not just exam skill, it is life skill. Because this organizational skill, analytical skill, this organizational skill comes only through analysis. and analysis and synthesis, which require the use of critical thinking of a higher order, something that you will need tomorrow as a responsible family member, as a responsible civil servant, right? And basically what I am trying to tell you is that this is a skill that you require for leadership, for being a good leader. And just this analytical skills is not enough. How you communicate your ideas with clarity, with persuasion, that is also very important, and that is also what is required in essay writing. Good. So let's now move on to the next slide. The next slide is about writing as thinking made visible. So in this slide I am trying to figure out, and by myself figuring out, I am trying to communicate to you that writing in itself, what writing in itself is. Writing in itself is a process of shaping ideas. So the thing I was talking about in the last slide, the analytical and the skill to analyze and the skill to synthesize, in one word, the organizational skill, that is what is reflected here in the word shaping. So you have ideas from different sources, but when you put those ideas into words, you are basically trying to give it a shape, and that shape has to be very appealing both to your emotions and above all convincing to your mind. Okay. So that shaping is the key word here. Then insights emerge during writing. When you start writing with your pen, right? At the beginning, you may not have all the ideas with you. You may not have, if I use a metaphor, you may not have all the bullets with you. But, as you start writing, insights start dawning upon you, and you end up writing a very insightful essay. So what I am trying to tell you is that if you cultivate the habit of writing essays, insights will emerge as you are in the process of writing. And again, this skill will be very useful if you are able to cultivate that, not only for the essay paper, but for other papers too. And the essay writing, what is essay writing for the UPSC? This is an exercise into multidisciplinary thinking. You have to bring in ideas from so many disciplines like history, like political science, like economics, like ethics, like philosophy, like even literature, science and technology, right? So you are bringing in ideas from diverse fields. So the catch here is how you connect those ideas. Ideas are from diverse fields, but if you are able to connect them into an organic whole, right, your essay becomes very impressive and your thinking becomes very multidisciplinary, or what people call interdisciplinary. Look at the next slide. In essay writing, the power of the thesis The importance of the power of the thesis cannot be gainsaid, right? Without thesis, your essay falls flat. But if your essay has a central claim, a central argument, right, then that argument or claim becomes the backbone of your essay. So, you must have that in your essay right in at the beginning of your essay, right in the first paragraph, because it is what will bind all later ideas that you will be using in your essays. Writing without thesis is a collection of very loose ideas gathered from this source, right, that source, but not connected. So, unconnected assembly of ideas will take the essay nowhere. It will literally become what Johnson said, although he said metaphorically, but it will literally become a loose sally of the mind. When Johnson said essay is a loose sally of the mind, he was being very metaphoric in the sense that this loose sally of the mind comes shaped in a connected whole. But if you are not able to do that, then it will literally become a loose thing. So there are, particular advantages that the use of the thesis gives you. And where did I tell you to put this or to place this? Right in the first paragraph, particularly towards the end of the first paragraph. And it gives your essay clarity and focus. In what sense it gives your essay clarity and focus? Because every paragraph flows to one direction. So you have so many ideas. Say you have body 1, body 2, body 3, body 4. So 4 body paragraphs. And all these, where do they flow? They flow towards thesis statement. So if you have a thesis statement, that thesis statement is proved by these main ideas in the body paragraphs. Okay, so this is why I say that every paragraph, particularly the body paragraphs, flow in one direction. And what is that? That is the thesis statement. And it also allows for or facilitates cohesion of ideas, okay, and a smooth transition. If you have a clear-cut thesis, then it will be very easy for you to achieve cohesion and also move very smoothly from one paragraph to another paragraph. And you will have a stronger argumentation in your essay, because everything that you are doing in the body paragraphs, they are going to act as evidence to buttress, to support your argument, your central argument that your thesis is. And when your readers read the thing, the essay, it acts as a roadmap for the reader. So when your examiner, who will be your reader, when he or she reads your essay and is able to follow it without difficulty, right? Imagine how pleased the examiner will feel, and if the examiner feels pleased, will give you very good grade, very good marks. So having a thesis statement, clear-cut thesis, gives you these advantages. Good. Now, we just talked about the power of thesis, but the power of thesis is not just enough. Let's talk about the power of a structure. When we say the power of a structure, you remember three words: cohesion, flow, and transition. Okay. So, cohesion by now is clear. To an extent, cohesion is clear, because cohesion means if you have a clear-cut thesis and if you have main ideas sufficiently elaborated in the body paragraphs, the ideas in the body paragraphs with evidences move towards the thesis and the thesis is finally proved. And if that is so, then that means cohesion. But for this cohesion, essay has a particular structure, and that structure is tripartite. It is called introduction, body, and conclusion. Right? This body this is one, and this body may have several paragraphs, several paras. When I say several, I mean normally 4, 5, 6, not more than 7, those paragraphs. Okay. So, you should have this structure. When you have this structure, when you have the thesis, you have automatic cohesion. Right. But just having thesis and just having a structure may not be sufficient for flow of your ideas, for a smooth movement along the highway of idea. For a smooth movement along the highway of idea, you may still require to use some transition words like however, but, and sometimes some transitional sentences, because sometimes words may not do. So, you may have to use a 10-word or 15-word or even 20-word short transitional sentence or paragraph that will make you move from one set of ideas to another set of ideas. For intra-paragraph movement, connectives like but, however, because will be useful. But suppose if you are moving from philosophy towards law, moving from philosophy to law might be a bit of a disconnect. So, in order to bridge that disconnect, you will need transitional bridges, and those transitional bridges should be of 10 word to 20 words, not more than that. By using those words, either towards the end of the previous paragraph or towards the beginning of the next paragraph, you will be able to achieve a smooth transition. Okay. So, why this is very important? This is very important because in the UPSC examination, examiners reward clarity, coherence, and very, persuasive organization. Your essay should not walk like a lame person. When a person has a problem in the joints, the person will have a lame kind of a walk. Your essay should not be like that. The cohesions and the transitions help your essay walk very smoothly into the mind and heart of the readers. Now, what is an essay? There is another way of looking at the essay. An essay is a conversation. Conversation with whom? Conversation with your reader. When you are having conversation with a friend, whether you realize it or not, you are trying to make a claim, you are trying to make an argument, and you are trying to prove it. And this is what you are doing in the essay. You have a central claim And that central claim you are trying to establish. But just as two friends are having conversation, here you are having conversation with the reader. Where is the reader? You are the writer and you are the reader. You put yourself in the role of two persons, the writer and also the reader. So as a reader you think whether the thing that I have written is convincing, does it work? Right. If you as a reader are persuaded to accept what you have written, that means even the examiner will accept it. So in that way, essays are dialogue with the reader. And not just, essay is not just a thing wherein you only depend on logic. Arguments are required, prima facie required, right? But you also need to be creative. How you weave those ideas, those arguments into a very good looking fabric, that's what matters. So in that sense, essay is not just being critical, essay writing is also being creative. Okay, because it's creativity that gives you originality. So essay writing combines both originality and reasoning, logic. Then we come to a style, right? A style gives writing its own character and its own appeal. I often give the example of two twin sisters looking the same, exactly the same, using the same cosmetics from the same cosmetic box, but still one looking more appealing than the other. So the body is the same, the features are the same, right? So why one looks more appealing than the other? Where does the difference come from? The difference comes from the use of cosmetics. One uses cosmetics in a much more in a special way, different from the other one, that gives her a different kind of a character and a style. Okay, so this is what a style does to essay also. Same thing, same effect. So what is a style? If I define a style with respect to essay, I will be defining it with the help of three words. A style is choice of diction, word choice, sentence rhythm, second thing, and the third is tone balance. Right? So let me explain all these three. Often, up a start, UPSC candidates have a wrong notion. And the wrong notion that they have in mind is that if they use very flowery kind of a language, their style will be very appealing. That is a very wrong notion. You should not try to be unnecessarily poetic. You should not try to be verbose at all. You should not try to show off your pedantry, particularly in the use of words. Remember, it's the quality of idea that should choose the word. Your choice of words should be dictated by the quality of idea. Okay. And then sentence rhythm. Again, people have very wrong notion that if they write only short, punchy sentences, short but punchy that is very effective. No, it's not like that. Sentence rhythm to a large extent depends on, again, the nature of the idea. If you are trying to convey tension, emotion, anger, then short punchy sentences can be effective. But if you are trying to convey progress, continuity, right, there you need to use longer sentences. So a good essay writer makes a mix of short and long sentences depending on the quality of the idea. So again here sentence choice is determined by the quality of idea, the nature of idea. And finally is the tone. Depending on the nature of the question, nature of the idea, your tone should be serious, humorous. Sometimes if humor is required, you can be humorous, formal. If it is required, you can be semi-formal. But rarely in essay writing you become colloquial or you use slang languages. Those kind of languages are not used, and the kind of languages that people use these days in on WhatsApp messaging, those kind of abbreviations are also not used in essay writing. UPSC essays are most of the time very philosophical, and philosophical essays are very have abstract ideas. So when you are writing about abstract ideas, philosophical ideas, your tone should be reflective. So what I mean to tell you is that the tone, formal, semi-formal, reflective, anecdotal means sometimes bringing in short narrative, sometimes also being metaphoric. All these things depend on the kind of idea that you are supposed to handle or you are handling. Okay. So these are some of the most fundamental things that I told you about essay writing. But just having a knowledge of these things is not enough. Having knowledge is good, but what really matters is practice, habit, practice, and feedback. The more you write, the more you give feedback to your own writing as a reader, first of all yourself, then through your peer, and also through your teachers, and revise. The more perfect you will be in essay writing. So, in essay writing, what really matters is drafting, revising. You draft it and you read it yourself and you revise it. Then you again draft and you give it to your peer, then you again revise. Then you again draft the same thing and you give it to your instructor, get the feedback, and then again revise. So this is what will make you write really very, really such essays which will really talk, which will really impress, your examiners. And as I said at the beginning of the presentation today, essay writing is beyond examination hall. Essay writing is life skills. I talked a lot about critical thinking, right? in our life we are supposed to make judgment most of the time. So whether the judgment that you make is right or not, that requires the use of critical thinking. That requires the skill of analysis, the skill of synthesis. You have to analyze so many aspects from so many perspectives, multiple perspectives, right? And then finally come to a judgment. So, this is a life skill. Life skill for you as a human being, as a family member, as a civil servant, as a social worker, as a leader in the society, as a leader in an organization, both private and public life. Okay. So, essay writing, not only prepares you intellectually, but it also helps you mature as a human being. Now, we move from essay to exam questions. The study IAS is an institution which rightly gives a lot of focus on thesis-based answer writing. If you get a long question or a medium question or a short question that requires the answer in 100 words to 150 words, so whether it is a short question, medium length question or long question, if you follow that structure that I told you, introduction, body and conclusion, and placing the thesis in your at the end of your introduction, right? And then summing up everything in the conclusion as we normally teach in the essay class, summing up the things from the body part and then finally connecting it to the thesis statement in the first paragraph and then reflecting. Then whether it is the short length answer or the medium length answer or the long length answer, your answer becomes very, 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 very tight, crisp and very, it just goes through the mind of your examiner. Your examiner becomes very pleased. And remember, in UPSC examination, you have the word limit set. Short answer question has every answer has a length. Sometimes they say answer this in 200 words or something like that. So, thesis-based writing allows you not to be unnecessarily expensive. So, you are zeroing in on the answer, the real thing, the nucleus all the time. If you have thesis-based answer, like the essay, this thesis-based answer allows you to achieve very smooth flow. Very smooth flow. Just imagine, when your examiner reads your answer, as the examiner is going through the body parts and the examiner is being constantly reminded that you are referring back to the thesis, whatever information you have given, that is referring back to the thesis, proving that, and then you give the clincher in the concluding paragraph. Just imagine the good feeling that you are giving to your examiner through thesis-based writing of answers. So, now I am going to in a way like conclude in the last coming 2 slides. I am going to conclude why thesis-based answer works in examination. I have given you some reasons, but let me clarify those reasons once more in a different way. Thesis-based answer is a proof of higher order thinking. What is higher order thinking? If your writing shows both analysis and synthesis, okay, that means you have higher level of thinking, and you do not cram your your answer with unnecessary ideas. Your idea is what normally in the examination, in the high school's questions you might have seen, answer briefly but to the point. To the point. So your answer will be to the point. And your answer will then impress your examiner with argument and cogent logic. Okay. And even if you are becoming a little bit bringing in idea from other discipline to answer a question in, say for example, in history writing, while you are writing about history, and it's a topic where you can bring in idea from economics, or you can bring in idea from political science, from international affairs, right? Relevant ideas. And if you are able to blend those ideas as you have been doing in essay writing, here in the answer, just imagine how original your answer will be and how pleased the examiner will be. Okay, that is the the advantage of this thesis-based writing, a habit that you pick up from your cultivation of essay writing. Then, this is the final slide. So, essay writing doesn't just give you a scope for 250 marks, but it's a kind of a mental training. It mentally prepares you for all GS papers and optional papers. That is what I have been trying to impress upon you, right? And hence, it is a foundation for success in the UPSC examination. If you can write good essays, you can write very impressive answers. If you write bad essays, your answers in other papers will just be a hodgepodge of information. Rag, tag, bobtail outfit. Not very impressive. Okay. So, essay writing is actually a path to 1750 marks. Okay. So, 250 marks of essay is a gateway to 1750 marks. So, if you take my words seriously, you will do very well. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to me.
डियर स्टूडेंट्स, हमारे चैनल को लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब करें और अपनी तैयारी को और बेहतर बनाएं।